وإن كل لما جميع لدينا محضرون صدق الله العلي العظيم.
For a recitation of poetry, please welcome Maitham Hassam. Salawat.
The moon of Muharram, times of sadness have come. The crescent has now arrived, casting gloom on Karbala, casting gloom on Karbala. The moon of Muharram, times of sadness have come. The crescent has now arrived, casting gloom on Karbala, casting gloom on Karbala. Betrayal by the Kufans set this moon on its course, calling out for their guide, treachery with no remorse. Muslim and his sons, what a tragedy, oh what a calamity. The moon bleeds to foresee, the moon bleeds to foresee. The moon of Muharram, times of sadness have come. The crescent has now arrived, casting gloom on Karbala, casting gloom on Karbala. On the ninth it heard the prayers of those pure souls, fought the rising sun for, perhaps this could be its role. Akbar's azan so clear, this mood filled with fear. How will it possibly arise and see the state of those dear, and see the state of those dear? The moon of Muharram, times of sadness have come. The crescent has now arrived, casting gloom on Karbala, casting gloom on Karbala. It saw the 6-month infant, no water but an arrow. That night it shone its light on Rabab filled with such sorrow. To see my Asghar I crave, I hear nothing but his cries. O son, please do not arise, and with this mother sympathize, and with this mother sympathize. The moon of Muharram, times of sadness have come. The crescent has now arrived, casting gloom on Karbala, casting gloom on Karbala. Witnessed it the trampling on Sham-e-Ghariba, saw that night the terror, bodies scattered afar, tents looted and on fire, earrings snatched from Ruqayya. This moon also in such pains, this household bound in chains, this household bound in chains. The moon of Muharram, times of sadness have come. The crescent has now arrived, casting gloom on Karbala, casting gloom on Karbala. Salawat.
For recitation of poetry, please welcome Syed Fazil with loud salawat.
صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. Live like Ali, die like Hussein. Live like Ali, die like Hussein. Live like Ali, die like Hussein. Allah loves all who have love for Muhammad in their heart. This is the city of knowledge, Ali, it is door and path. Hussein and Prophet Muhammad can never be apart, because this is what Muhammad has said of from the start. Husseiniyo, Husseino minni wa ana min al-Hussein. Live like Ali, die like Hussein. Live like Ali, die like Hussein. Live like Ali, die like Hussein. For life and death they are the guidance and philosophy, the sacrifice of Hussein and the way of life of Ali. You only need to look at the final sujood of each. This is the art of life and death we should try to achieve. Husseiniyo, these were the words of Ali. Fustuwar bi Rabbil Kaaba. Live like Ali, die like Hussein. Live like Ali, die like Hussein. Once again, live like Ali, die like Hussein. Hussein's the one who's the meaning of courage, love, and peace. He owns the earth and he owns everything within the seas. He is the path to the heaven, this is a guarantee. To love Hussein is the best way to let your soul be free. Husseiniyo, we follow him cause he guides us to what we are looking for. Live like Ali, die like Hussein. Live like Ali, die like Hussein. Live like Ali, die like Hussein. When growing up we have been taught this lesson every day. Without adab you have been born to serve the Ahlul Bayt. For loving them you may face torture, agony and pain. But every time you should never be scared to face that hate. Husseiniyo, the bravery of Ali is what you should always show. Live like Ali, die like Hussein. Live like Ali, die like Hussein. Live like Ali, die like Hussein. By sacrificing his companions and his family, Hussein has showed us how to live our lives and how to be. To give whatever we have in Allah's name and we will see. There's nothing in the universe we cannot achieve. Husseiniyo, to live our life in the way of Allah should be our goal. Live like Ali, die like Hussein. Live like Ali, die like Hussein. Live like Ali, die like Hussein. Our aim in this life is to do good and to discourage the wrong. This is the best way to let Karbala live on and on. Our aim in life is to do good and to discourage wrong. This is the best way to let Karbala live on and on. Even though we know that fortune center is of gone. The sacrifice of Hussein's live on in us and our soul. Husseiniyo, by standing for what he stood for, answering his call. Live like Ali, die like Hussein. Live like Ali, die like Hussein. Live like Ali, die like Hussein. Hussein's ultimate meaning of faith and devotion. He showed us how to conduct ourselves as creation, and then by saving humanity gave us salvation. This is a lesson for every age and generation. Hussein, because of him we have got harmony within our souls. Live like Ali, die like Hussein. Live like Ali, die like Hussein. Live like Ali, die like Hussein. To call ourselves the lovers of these personalities, we have to follow them and should reflect on what they did. To fast and keep up with our prayer is imperative. These are the acts that go together with Azadari. Hussein, without one the other faith cannot be whole. Live like Ali, die like Hussein. Live like Ali, die like Hussein. Live like Ali, die like Hussein. Ya Ali, Ya Hussein, Ya Ali, Ya Hussein, Ya Ali, Ya Hussein, Ya Ali, Ya Hussein. Labbaik Ya Hussein, Labbaik Ya Hussein. لبيك يا حسين لبيك يا حسين نعرة حيدري صلوات.
Jazakallah. Salawat. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Brothers and sisters, tonight we once again begin our commemoration of the martyrdom of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad, as well as his family and his companions. Our daily program will start tonight and continue through Tuesday, July 8th. The program will start every night with Namaz-e-Maghribain, followed by two independent majalises, one in Urdu and one in English. Our children's workshops will start tomorrow, Friday, June 27th, and run through Friday, July 4th. We'll have workshops for moms and toddlers. These are for children under the age of 4. These workshops will take place on the second floor of the Masjid building. And then we'll also have workshops for children ages 4 to 12. These workshops will take place at the Sadiq School building on the second floor. We also have workshops for children with special needs as well. For any information, seek out any of the volunteers. Also keep in mind, make note of the date, Saturday, July 5th. This will be the 9th of Muharram. We'll have, inshallah, our annual Muharram blood drive. The blood drive will take place 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. at Sadiq School. So please make note of that, and we hope you'll be able to donate on that day in the name of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. The sponsor for tonight's program is Mr. Kamran Khan. Let us recite Surah Fatiha for the marhumin of the sponsors, as well as for all of our marhumin. And for those who have no one to recite Fatiha for them, there's also a special request for Surah Fatiha for Ali Al-Hillo, Syed Abdul Rasul Al-Hillo, his sons Ali Asghar, Muhammad Jawad, and Saleh, as well as Abdul Nabi Zebak. And there's also a request for Fatiha for Marhuma Kulsum Binte Jamal. Surah Fatiha. Mu'mineen sponsorship opportunities for these majalis throughout the month of Muharram and Safar are available. If anyone wants to take advantage of this opportunity to earn the immense sawab of sponsoring this majalis of Imam Hussein, please seek out any of the volunteers. We're also looking for additional volunteers to help us out during the month of Muharram and Safar here at the masjid. Especially this is an appeal to high school students who may be looking for volunteer hours. if you're able to help, please reach out, and we certainly could use your help. Also, we hope that you'll continue to donate generously to the masjid and to Sadiq School throughout the months of Muharram and Safar, as you have throughout the year. Keep in mind that many employers offer matching donations for their employees, so if you haven't taken advantage of that, please reach out to your employer to see if that's an option, or you can talk to us as well. We can help you with that as well. Sadiq School is enrolling for the next academic year that will start in September. We have early childhood education for children 2.5 to under 5 years of age. For children 5 years and over, we have classes from kindergarten all the way up to 5th grade this year. So please take advantage. Enrollment is ongoing for the year that's starting in September. Finally, there are those in our community tonight who are not feeling well, many across the world who are in need of our du'as. Many across the world are suffering from various hardships, including the wars that are going on, religious persecution, natural disasters, as well as poverty and famine. Let us pray to Allah during these blessed nights of Azad to relieve the suffering of these people. Kindly recite with me verse number 62 from Surah Namal 5 times. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Amma yujibul mustarra iza da'a wa yakshifu su. 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 Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Mu'mineen, without any further delay, it is now my honor to invite our resident scholar, Maulana Syed Rizwan Rizvi, to address tonight's majlis. Please greet him with loud salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad.
رحم الله من قرأ سورة الفاتحة. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Please also recite another Surah Fatiha for the marhumin of tonight's sponsors. بسم الله الرحمن. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله الذي قصرت عن رؤيته أبصار الناظرين وعجزت عن نعته أوهام الواصفين. الحمد لله رب العالمين. الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين خاتم النبيين أبي القاسم محمد وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين الذين ذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. أما بعد، فقد قال الله تبارك وتعالى وقوله الحق وهو أصدق القائلين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ومن يبتغي غير الإسلام دينا فلن يقبل منه وهو في الآخرة من الخاسرين. صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوات. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. the moon of Muharram al-Haram, 1447 Hijri, was sighted, and tomorrow, inshallah, will be the first of Muharram al-Haram. Tonight, on this last night of Dhul Hijjah, as we enter into this month, with our heavy hearts, we embrace these ayyam that we are entering into, which we await entire year. These are the nights and the days we long for. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to have an opportunity to once again be amongst the azadar of Sayyid al-Shuhada. This is indeed an honor and privilege for all of us. That year in and year out, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has bestowed us the opportunity that we are counted amongst the azadar of Imam Hussein. Many in the world tonight have no idea as to who this man, Imam Hussein, was. Many in the world are oblivious of the character of Imam Hussein. And even those who know Sayyid al-Shuhada, who don't have the opportunity to pay their respects to what Imam Hussein had achieved. As we welcome this month of Muharram, as we enter into these ayyam-e-aza, a few things that I want to cover in these series of majalis. First and foremost, brothers and sisters, those who are present over here and those who are listening online, and especially those who are present over here, we should come here with the intention of ibadat. As you begin this majlis with Salatul Maghrib and Isha, and you definitely needed wudu to start that, and you maintain that wudu throughout this majlis, while it's not necessary, but you consider this to be ibadat as well. You sit on this farsh with respect, with honor, with dignity. Why? This farsh is also carrying the holy personalities. It is our firm belief and aqidah that the holy personalities, if not all, at least mother of Sayyid al-Shuhada, Janab Fatmatul Zahra, Salamullah alayha, is present on every farsh azah. You know, when I was reading some of the riwayat regarding that famous hadith, when from the birth of Imam Hussein, when Rasulullah was informed of the tragedy of Karbala and the shahadat of Imam Hussein before his birth, he said this to Janab Sayyidah, that you're about to give birth to a child who will be treated in this way. So there was bittersweet feeling for her. As every mother wants to become a mother, she had that sweet feeling, but then that bitter feeling as to what will happen to this child. It is as if I don't want this child to be born to go through the suffering. As if I don't want this child to come into this world only to be slain and only to be killed. And so right away she had these thoughts. And Rasulullah consoled her. In fact, she said not just Rasul consoled her, the baby in the womb also consoled her. Janab Sayyidah, she made this dua. And she says, yes, Rasulullah, oh my father, when my son will be killed, will you be there at that time? Rasulullah said, no, I will be long gone by then. He said, will my husband Ali be present at that time? Rasulullah said, no, Ali will not be there either. She then said, will Hassan be there? He said, no, Hassan will not be there either. She said, will I be there at that time? And Rasulullah said, no, Fatima, you will not be there either. And therefore, Janab Sayyidah cried at that moment. She wept and she could not fathom the thought that my son will be killed in the plains of Karbala and there will be no one to go ahead and weep for him, to go ahead and accompany him, or to be with him. There's so many uncertainties right now in her mind. Rasulullah said, don't worry, O my daughter. While there will be companions with him in the battlefield, and after his shahadat as well, there will be a qawm that will continue to commemorate the shahadat of Imam Hussein. They will continue to commemorate every single year. When the month of Muharram will come, they will have this farsh azam, they will sit on it, they will have this majlis, and they will shed their tears for your son. You've heard this hadith many times. But the part that really strikes is this. Then Janab Sayyidah said something. Two things are mentioned. One, you probably are aware of. She said, I will stand on the day of judgment, and I will not enter paradise until the zawar of Hussein and those who commemorated and shed tears for Hussein enter. But another thing, this will happen on the day of judgment, inshallah, that we receive her shafa'at on the day of judgment. That will happen. That is yet to happen. But one thing that she is doing, according to the promise that she made, is we rarely hear about. What did she say? She said, O Prophet, O Rasul, that every time a mu'min, an azadar of my son Hussein, loses a child and their child is buried in the grave, when nobody's there, Janab Fatima says, I will go there, carry that child in my arms like I carry Hussein ibn Ali. While that child is buried in the graves, you buried your child and you left home for home. Nobody's there, he's in the grave now. She said what? She said, I will take care of that child. I will bear and I will carry that child in my hands, and I'll make sure that he doesn't feel terrified in the darkness of the grave. Brothers, these are the ayyam in which we reaffirm our covenant to Imam Hussein. For the things that Imam stood for, therefore the theme of this year's Majlis-e-Azaa that I will be in front of you is to understand the objectives of Karbala. The legacy of Sayyid al-Shuhada, of course, but to understand the objectives of Karbala. 14 centuries have passed. What Imam stood for, what Imam did, his fadail pertaining to Karbala, before Karbala, and his masaib, we are all aware of. But we're extremely unfortunate that many a times we do not go in the depth of the objectives that Imam Hussein stood up for. You know, this is the majlis, the ibtidai majlis, istiqbali majlis, the first majlis before the majalis begin. So I'm just introducing to you the topic and what we will be, inshallah, diving into as we move forward. Before I go further, the ayat that I recited is from Surah Al Imran, ayat number 85. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this ayat says, وَمَنْ يَبْتَغِي غَيْرَ الْإِسْلَامِ دِينًا فَلَنْ يُقْبَلَ مِنْهُ. Whoever adheres to a religion other than Islam, it will not be accepted. وَهُوَ فِي الْآخِرَةِ مِنَ الْخَاسِرِينَ. And such an individual will be considered khasirin, amongst the losers on the Day of Judgment. This ayat, inshallah, every night I will explore a little bit of this ayat before I move on to another ayat that I will recite. But just very quickly, there are a few keywords that we need to analyze in this ayat that will help us understand how we look at Quran as well. Because one of the objectives of Imam Hussein in Karbala was to uphold Quran Majid, to uphold the teachings of Quran Majid, to do not let Quran be forgotten, to not be misguided, unfortunately, by Quran, as people were in the Battle of Siffin, when Quran was raised on the spears. To utilize this Quran in their lives. Do not make this Quran to be a means of, just recitation and the beautification of recitation and nothing beyond that. Understanding it. Make it into be your code of conduct, code of life. Knowing what this Quran is saying to you. You've heard this a great deal. I speak in front of you all year long. You might have heard it from me. That when you stand up for salat, you're speaking with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? As-salatu mi'rajul mu'min. Salat is the mi'raj of mu'min. When Rasulullah went on mi'raj, what did he do? He spoke with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Irshad-e-Dailami narrates the entire hadith of the conversation that took place between Rasulullah and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah spoke how, when the other aspects of this speech of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we don't know. But nonetheless, there was a speech. With what voice? Some mention a voice that was familiar to Rasulullah. And some riwayat mention a voice so that by which Rasulullah would feel comfortable. And what was the voice Rasulullah was always comfortable with? The sawt and the voice of Amirul Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wasalam. Allahumma salli. So Allah spoke to him. They lengthy hadith in the book Irshad-e-Dailami, it's mentioned. What is the hadith in which Rasulullah is addressed as Ahmad? Why? Ismuhu fil arsh Ahmad. His name on Arsh-e-Ilahi is Ahmad. And his name on this earth is Muhammad. So when he ascended, Rasulullah was addressed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ya Ahmad, atadri. Ya Ahmad, hal ta'rif. Ya Ahmad, atadri. Allah was asking him questions. Oh Ahmad, do you know? Oh Ahmad, do you know? Oh Ahmad, do you know? And of course, Rasulullah, who is the maqsad creation, the purpose for the creation of entire universe, after Allah, he possesses the knowledge of everything. But for Rasulullah to say in adri, in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, does not mean, na'udhu billah, his ignorance. He said, la adri, I do not know. That is in front of the maqam of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I do not know. Otherwise, he knows. And plus, there's nothing wrong saying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, la adri. It doesn't lower the status of Rasulullah. Some people become, excited over this. How can Rasulullah say la adri? In fact, in Quran, Rasulullah says in adri. When the kuffar asked Rasulullah, is Qayamat close or far? He said in adri. I don't know if it's close or if it's far, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has promised you. That is one thing Allah has kept secret from even me. But one of the things that is mentioned in this lengthy riwayat, because I'm just using it as to get to the next point, Allah asked him. He said to him, Ya Ahmad, hal tadri bi ayyi waqtin yataqarrabu al-abdu ila al-ma'bud? Do you know when is my abd, my servant, closest to me? And Rasulullah responded by saying, La adri, I do not know. You know better. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala responded by saying, إِذَا كَانَ جَائِعًا أَوْ سَاجِدًا. When my servant is in the state of sajda, and my servant is empty stomach. When you're empty stomach, in the morning, Salatul Fajr, when you stand up and you pray, normally we have been fasting for 7-8 hours, empty stomach. After that, you start getting hungry. That's why you do what? Breakfast. So your stomach is empty at that time and you're doing sajda. That is the peak of ibadat. Allah says what? That is the time when my servant is closest to me. There isn't any other time the one who is what? Closer than your jugular veins. But he says that is the time when I'm closest to him. So Rasulullah went to Mi'raj. What did he do? He spoke with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He came back to the earth. He mentioned to his family, his companions, what he had done. Right away they asked, how do we perform this Mi'raj? How do we go on this Mi'raj? Just like when you go for a trip, many of you had the opportunity to perform Hajj this year. Many of you may have the opportunity to go to Umrah this year, or for the ziyarat of Karbala in Najaf, or other maqamat. And when you come back, you tell others about it, how it went over there. What did you do over there? How amazing it was. How mesmerizing that experience was. Or, not just the ziyarat. So Maulana is giving the example of ziyarat. Any other place that you've gone for vacation. Siru fil ard. Travel in the land. So you go to different parts of the world. And then you come back and you tell others about it. Rasulullah did the same thing. He went on Mi'raj, he came back and he told everyone what he saw. Right away, this created this ishtiyaq. They all wanted to go. But of course, Allah is not going to go ahead and accept everyone in His bargah like that. You want to come into the bargah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? You got to get to the level of Muhammad. Here we understand this difference between Prophet and us is what? Nobody is close to the Prophet. He's the only individual who had the opportunity to go up to Mi'raj. You call yourself to be same as Rasul? Let me see if she can go to Mi'raj. There's no way. That's the difference between you and Prophet, us and Prophet. Prophet is meeting with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Rasulullah said, no, you don't have to do this Mi'raj. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created your Mi'raj right here. As-salatu Mi'raj al-mu'min. This salat is the Mi'raj of mu'min. A mu'min can travel without having the need to go up as long as he stands up in his salat. And when he's in sajda, he's closest to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Salawat biji Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So, Imam alayhi salatu wasalam stood up for this salat. Imam alayhi salatu wasalam, these are one of the objectives of Karbala. You say, well, salat is one of the objectives of Karbala? Such a basic objective? We consider the salat to be basic. We haven't really thought through as to what the philosophy of this salat is. That is not my topic tonight. It's istiqbal. I'm just counting and to explain as to, inshallah, what we will be covering in the nights to come. One of the objectives of Karbala from the teachings of Imam Hussein, as I will recite for you towards the end, before the Masaib, that wasiyat of Imam alayhi salatu wasalam. But coming back to this ayat number 85 from Surah Al Imran, he says, وَمَنْ يَبْتَغِي غَيْرَ الْإِسْلَامِ دِينًا. Whoever adheres to a religion other than Islam, وَمَنْ يَبْتَغِي غَيْرَ الْإِسْلَامِ دِينًا فَلَنْ يُقْبَلَ مِنْهُ. The word lan in Arabic is for negation forever. When you say lan taqbala, that means it will never happen. Lan tastati, that means you will never be able to do so. Lan taqdir, you don't have the qudrat. He said lan falan yuqbala minhu. It will not be accepted. Never, no matter what you do. A few questions here might be around. One is, does that mean we consider all the other religions to be false? Does that mean Islam considers that every other religion that exists on the face of the earth is batil, and the only path of salvation is through Islam? To that extent, you might say, well, yeah, that's my understanding. Does that mean Islam negates pluralism, where other religions, they cannot find any salvation whatsoever? You know, what's the difference between us and the other religions? Other religions say the same thing about their own faith, that they are on the right path and they will attain this salvation. Now here's the difference. This is where you look at the ayat of Quran from a very basic perspective. You understand it differently. But if you look at it from the lens of Ahlul Bayt alayhimu salatu wasalam, you understand that this ayat is speaking much deeper than that. Every word of the ayat of Quran is placed meticulously in order to go ahead and, explain and defend the ayat of Quran. A lot of time, what you say, you got to stand by it. But because we're not masoom, we can make a mistake. And it's easy for us to go out and say, I made a mistake and I apologize. Quran is not a book of another human being. Quran was not put together by ordinary people. And that is the reason some people fell into this, understanding that Quran, Rasulullah received it, but Rasulullah did not know how to read and write. Right? He did not know how to read and write. Quran was revealed to him, but he did not know how to read and write. And Rasulullah was ummi. He was illiterate, na'udhu billah. All these concepts are created. The reason Allah kept that from understanding is because Allah did not want people to go ahead and say that Quran was concocted, Quran was created by Rasulullah. Quran was written by Rasulullah. Lest tomorrow someone comes and says, oh Muhammad, you wrote this book in 40 years and now you want us to believe that this is the kalam of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You wrote it down. 40 years we know. You're Sadiq and Ameen. You wrote it down and now you want us to believe that this is your faith, this is your religion, this is something which is a revelation. So Rasulullah showed himself in front of the people that he never attended any worldly institution to learn. Rasulullah also refrained from writing any documents throughout his life. But Rasulullah, through his character, proved that he's Sadiq and Ameen. Every single individual in Mecca believed that Rasulullah is righteous and truthful. That Rasulullah would not lie. See how the credibility is being built? That's why Imam says, Kunu du'atan linnasi bighayri alsinatikum. Guide people to the right path without using your tongue. You don't always have to speak to guide people. You don't always have to write to guide people. You can guide people through your amal and through your actions. Kunu du'atan linnasi bighayri alsinatikum. Rasulullah did that for 40 years. You know how much sabr that requires? Someone who has all this knowledge. Someone who can share all this knowledge. Someone who can write. Today, people, well, of course, our belief is that when you get to the age of 40, Aql Rushdi gets to its peak. And, many authors and writers, they have written books by the time they get to the age of 40. They have good qalam. They have written many things. And then we study a few things and then we start writing. Rasulullah had to control that. There was no izn from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for him to write anything. So he didn't write anything. He didn't give lectures. He didn't give speeches like this for 40 years. You know what that led for some people to believe? That Rasulullah is illiterate. He doesn't know how to read, he doesn't know how to write. And he showed it on numerous occasions. When they wanted to go ahead and make the peace treaty in Hudaybiyah, Rasulullah said, oh Ali, write. He didn't write it himself. Oh Ali, remove my name. Because these people, kuffar, they don't want to call me Muhammad to be the Rasulullah. Remove the word Rasulullah from it. Of course, Amirul Mu'mineen, out of respect, said, Rasulullah, leave me from removing your name. Or, for example, on his deathbed, Rasulullah asked for pen and paper. He could have just brought out the pen and paper himself and he said, here, I'm writing something for you. No, he asked for it. Think about it. All of these things are leading one to believe what? That he doesn't know how to read and he doesn't know how to write. Even until his death, he doesn't know how to read and write. Although, in that last hadith, he actually said what? Aktubu lakum shay'an. Right? Give me pen and qirtas. Aktubu lakum shay'an. So that I may write something for you. Lan tadillu ba'di. By which you will never go astray after that. So Rasulullah saying, Aktub lakum shay'an. All of the ahadith books have narrated this hadith. The calamity of Thursday, you've heard many lectures upon it. Rasulullah saying what? Itini biqalamin wa qirtasin. Bring me pen and paper. Aktub lakum shay'an. I will write something. When that hadith exists, although they denied Rasulullah to write anything, is he making a false claim that I can write? No, the only purpose for this was so that people don't say that Quran is the kalam of Rasulullah and not kalam of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That was the whole purpose behind it. And therefore, we see when this Quran is brought forth, at the age of 40, when Rasulullah shows this Quran, it is mesmerizing to people. When they hear about this Quran, they see the eloquence of this Quran. They had never heard Rasul speak that way. They had never heard Rasulullah talk in poetry. وَمَا عَلَّمْنَاهُ الشِّعْرَ وَمَا يَنْبَغِي لَهُ. We did not teach him any poetry, nor is he worthy of doing that. So, when they didn't see any prose and poetry from Rasulullah, and all of a sudden this Quran is a masterpiece of eloquence, what are they going to think? This can't be his kalam. This can't be his product. This can't be something that he put together. This has to be work of someone who has mastery in adabiyat. So that was the reason. That was the reason. But what they failed to understand was that even though this was the reason to keep Rasulullah from writing and reading, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is declaring in this Quran, هو الذي بعث في الأميين رسولا منهم يتلو عليهم آياته ويزكيهم ويعلمهم الكتاب والحكمة. The one upon whom we have sent this Quran, this ayat has been repeated many places. One of those places in Surah Jummah. يتلو عليهم آياته. One of the duties of Prophet is to what? Read, do the tilawat of this Quran. So if he doesn't know how to read, how's he going to do the tilawat? So well, Allah is sending the wahi onto him and he's dictating it to others. Still he didn't read it. Okay. But the one who's dictating it, the one who's explaining it, through these ayat, he's teaching you, yuzakkihim wa yu'allimuhum al-kitaba wal-hikmah. He's teaching you the kitab and he's teaching you the hikmah and the wisdom by which. That person has to be at the peak of ilm and the sciences and the knowledge which you cannot strip away from Rasulullah. So with that said, this was the reason why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala kept Rasul to be ummi. In the eyes of the people, illiterate, that he doesn't know how to read and write, so that nobody says Quran is his product. Moving forward with this ayat. Whoever adheres to a religion other than Islam. Our claim was, is Islam canceling and Islam against pluralism? All the other religions are false. There's nothing true about the other religions? No, within this book, you will find ayat where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, if these people of the book adhere to their faith, minhum ummatun muqtasida, amongst them are that righteous and moderate group. And if they adhere to their teachings, of course, we will bestow upon them the paradise and the jannat and tajri min tahti al-anhar. But here there's a difference. The words of Quran are, as I said, are so meticulously placed that if any other word was used over here, it could have easily been indefensible. The fact that Allah used the word yattabi or yabtaghi rather, Allah could have used any other word. MashaAllah, some of our Arab brothers are sitting over here. They know the translation was what? Whoever follows a religion other than Islam. What is another word for following in Arabic? Ittiba, right? Yattabi. Or tashayya'a, right? Shia means also too, the one who follows. Hada min shi'atihi wa hada min aduwihi, about Hazrat Musa, that one is his Shia and that one is his aduv. So here you always understand that either you have the Shia or you have the enemy of the Shia. Salawat bi Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So there are many words for the word following in Arabic. Allah used the word yabtaghi. Ya, ba, ta, and ghain. Why yabtaghi? Not yattabi. Yattabi would have made sense over here. It's not even that different. You have the two dots on top. Here you have one dot on bottom. And then ghain is ain. You change it. It's a very simple, same composition. Just the dots are removed. No, you didn't use the word yattabi. If the word yattabi was used, it would have left in a meaning which would not have been defensible. Allah used the word yabtaghi to convey a meaning. That's why Arabic is such a profound and complete language. You know, we translate the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in English, but we run short of these words. We can't fully translate the kalam of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Just take the word mawaddat and mahabbat. Mawaddat is translated as love, mahabbat is translated as love. Although there's a difference between the two. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not say, قُلْ لَا أَسْأَلُكُمْ عَلَيْهِ الْمَحَبَّةَ. He said, قُلْ لَا أَسْأَلُكُمْ عَلَيْهِ مَوَدَّةَ. That I do not ask for ajr for what I have done. Except what? Mawaddat. He didn't say mahabbat. There's a difference between the two. With same thing here, the word yabtaghi is used. So Maulana, get to the point. What does the word yabtaghi means? Yabtaghi means that when you have been given the information and you still deny it. Now look at this ayat. Whoever follows a religion other than Islam after they have been given the knowledge, فَلَنْ يُقْبَلَ مِنْهُ, it will not be accepted from him. But if you are following another religion without having learned about the religion of Islam, then you still have a way out. It makes a whole lot of difference. You know, someone, for example, walks around on the runway. I don't know, I'm just trying to think of an example. At the airport, so you're not allowed to walk on the runway. Only authorized personnel are. So I was never told about it. So truly, if you weren't told about it, although it's common knowledge, you will not be held accountable. But if you are well aware of it and you still did it, you know, there's a crime. This is a crime, punishable. Here is the same thing. These people were informed. Even after they were informed, they refrained from following the true path. The first one should have been the Christians and the Jews. They knew about the coming of the Prophet. They knew about Islam, yet they still refrained from it. This is where Quran says, فَلَنْ يُقْبَلَ مِنْهُ. It will not be accepted from them. وَهُوَ فِي الْآخِرَةِ مِنَ الْخَاسِرِينَ. And such an individual is amongst those who are khasireen on the day of judgment. Khusran. You know the word khusr. وَالْعَصْرِ إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَفِي خُسْرٍ. By the Asr, indeed all of mankind is at a loss. At a loss. Brothers and sisters, let me bring you back, and inshallah I'll explain more of this ayat tomorrow because there's some key words in it that require in-depth analysis. That the discussion where Imam ﷺ, some of these messages that we derive from his nahazat. Some of these objectives of Karbala, one of those objectives of Imam ﷺ is standing up for justice and standing up against injustice. And that is why in the 60th year after Hijrah, when in the middle of the month of Rajab, Amir-e-Sham left this world, before leaving, he had already announced his successor to be Yazid. And he had given instructions to Yazid that the same way I never asked Hassan to pay allegiance to me, nor did I ask Hussein to pay allegiance to me. Muawiyah never asked Imam Hassan, Imam Hussein. You should do the same thing. You should continue to do the same thing. Don't ask Hussein for his allegiance. Imam Hassan is not there at that time. But don't ask Imam Hussein for allegiance. Yazid, who comes into power, one of the first orders that he issues, the executive orders that we have come to know so much, is to send notification to the Wali of Medina, who is his cousin, Walid ibn Utbah ibn Abi Sufyan, that Muawiyah is dead, Yazid is now the new caliph, and he's demanding that you gain allegiance, bay'at, from these individuals. Amongst them is Abdullah ibn Umar, Abdullah ibn Zubair, and Hussein ibn Ali. Now, Walid, who looks at this letter, he summons Imam Hussein. When he calls upon Imam Hussein, he, speaks and consults with Marwan. Now, what is your opinion about this? Marwan says, yes. Make sure that you get the allegiance of Amirul Mu'mineen. Imam Hussein arrives and he knows something is wrong. So he comes with the youth of Banu Hashim. They all come along with Imam Hussein. Imam tells them to wait outside. And if you see my voice raise, then you may storm in. But as long as you don't see my voice raised, you stay outside. Walid gives the news of the passing of Muawiyah. And Yazid is now the new caliph. And he's demanding your bayat. Imam ﷺ said to Walid, Inna Ahlul Bayt Nabuwah. We are the Ahlul Bayt of Nabuwah. Mukhtalaful Malaika. Ma'adinur Rahman. We are the ones in the house whom which Nabi was sent. Wahi had come down. Malaika used to gather. Bina fatah Allah wa bina yukhtam. With us, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala spread this religion. And with us, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took this religion to its peak. Al-yawma akmaltu lakum dinakum. With our wilayat, that is. And on the other hand, Yazid, rajulun fasiq, sharibul khamr, and so on and so forth. Mithli la yubayi' mithla. Someone like me does not pay allegiance to someone like Yazid. Imam here did not say Hussein. He didn't speak in third person. Hussein does not pay allegiance to a Yazid. He said, no, someone like me doesn't pay allegiance to someone like him. Upon hearing these words, Walid said, then what should I write down? What should I send as a message? Imam said, we'll wait until tomorrow, and you will know by tomorrow what my answer is. As Imam was about to walk out, he didn't raise his voice, right? So there was no need for Banu Hashim to come in. But as he was about to walk out, Marwan ibn Hakam said to Walid, if you let Hussein go now, you will never be able to catch him. Because Yazid had also given you the instructions, either gain his allegiance or sever his neck. Kill him. Marwan is saying the same thing. Either go ahead and grab him, get his allegiance, or sever his neck. Imam hears what Marwan said. He said, Yabna Zaraqa. Imam spoke to him in a derogatory sense. O son of so-and-so, do you threaten me with the sword? And here, Imam ﷺ controlled his composure, because he didn't want the Jawanan to enter into the court and make a scene over there. Imam left after giving the instructions, and he said, we'll wait till tomorrow. And Imam leaves. Imam comes home. He knows that he has to leave at night. And he knows that there's no place for him in Medina anymore. Very quickly, I'll go through this. Imam ﷺ goes to the grave of Rasulullah. He bids farewell. He goes to the grave of his mother. He bids farewell. He goes to the grave of Imam Hassan, and he bids farewell. And then he goes to his brother Muhammad Hanafiya. Comes and speaks to him, gives him instructions. And here Imam gives that wasiyat that you have heard a great deal. What does Imam say? He says to his brother, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, wahdahu la sharika la, wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh, arsalahu bil haqqi, bashiran wa nadhira, and anna sa'ata atiyatun la rayba fi, wa anna allaha yubathu man fil qubur. And then he said, Inni lam akhruj ashiran wala batira, wala mufsidan wala zalima. I'm not leaving to cause any shar. Ashira refers to when you do kufran ni'mat. When you have ni'mat from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but you don't show gratitude toward it, that's ashiran. Wala batira. Batira is tughyan, being rebellious when you are in the state of ghina. When you are self-sufficient and you show arrogance, that's batira. Imam said, I'm not leaving. Lam akhruj ashiran wala batira. Wala mufsidan wala zalima. I'm not leaving to cause any fasad. Nor am I leaving to do any injustice. Innama kharajtu li talab al-islah fi ummati jaddi. The only purpose behind my leaving is to cause what? Reform in the ummah of my jad. Uridu an amura bil maruf. I only want to perform amr bil maruf. Wa anha anil munkar. I'm only here to do nahi anil munkar. Wa asira bi sirati jaddi wa abi. And I only want to follow the sirat of my jad, Rasulullah, and my father, Amirul Mu'mineen. That's all. You know, this wasiyat itself is so profound that every single word, I only mentioned the example or the translation of two, ashara and batara. All the words that Imam uses, kalam-e-Imam, indeed requires explanation. There's always a mantuk and a mafhum of everything. Meaning what? The apparent meaning, what Imam said, and the implied meaning of what Imam said. Implied meaning is not understood by the masses, but Muhammad Hanafi understood what Imam was saying. Imam was saying that uridu an amura bil ma'ruf wa anha anil munkar. I want to leave to cause reform, because what? The implied meaning is reform is needed over here. I want to leave so that I can do amr and nahi. Meaning what? Amr and nahi is needed. That's why I want to leave. I want to follow the sirat of my father and my grandfather. Meaning what? The sirat of my father and my grandfather is not being followed. All of these things are not happening, and that is the reason I'm doing this khuruj. There's no other reason. I'm not going for fasad. I'm not going for shar. I'm not going for arrogance or any of those reasons. My purpose is innama. Innama is hasr over here. Only and only for this reason. And then whoever wants to follow me on this path of haqq, so be it. But if someone doesn't want to follow me on this path, then يَقْضِيَ اللَّهُ بَيْنِي وَبَيْنَهُ. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be judge between me and that person on the day of judgment. That is why it is very important that when Imam was calling people to come to Karbala, and how people were refraining, Imam was giving them instructions that Allah will judge you. Brothers, before I bring you to Masaib, today we have Hussein of our time. Right? At that time it was Hayhat minna dhillah, and it was Ya li Tharat al-Hussein. Now we have the Mahdi of our time, who is the Hussein of the time. Right? The same way that allegiance was needed at that time with Hussein ibn Ali, and people were leaving. Imam was calling people, yet people were. Imagine the entire Muslim Ummah at that time, and only 72, okay, maximum Riwayah says 130, gathered in the plains to defend the Nawasa and the grandson of Rasulullah. What happened to the expansion of this entire Ummah? And therefore it is worth mentioning that when the Hussein of our time is in need, or when he's calling, are we there for him or not? That is the covenant. That is the reaffirmation that we need to have, especially in these Ayyam Azha. Yes, we come here for listening to the Fadail, and we come here for listening to the Musibah. That is the main maqsad. Why? When you cry and when you weep, it softens your heart. Weeping is very important. So therefore, don't be shy of crying. The moment you hear the name of Hussein, that itself is enough to bring that weeping and crying. Take yourself, imagine right now, take yourself in the 60th year after Hijrah, the last few days of the month of Rajab, 28th of Rajab, right? Imam is departing the city of Medina, Rawangi from Medina. Imam goes to the graves of all of his family members. Imam goes to the grave of Rasulullah. Oh, my grandfather, this is your city. I was born in this city, I was raised in this city, and now I have to depart this city. Imagine when you have to leave your city, not by choice, by force. He comes to the grave of his mother. Nobody knows where the grave of his mother is, but Hussein knew where his mother Fatima Zahra is buried. People don't know. Look at the musibah. The people cannot go to the grave of Fatima Zahra openly. But Hussein goes and he weeps. The same mother who said, "Oh Hussein, those who weep for you, I will stand in paradise and I will not enter until every single one of them have entered." As I mentioned in the beginning, that is the promise by Janab Sayyidah on the day of judgment that will inshallah take place as in the form of her shafa'at. But right now, she says that if any one of the children of mu'mineen, they die at a young age, Fatima Zahra is there in the grave to console the heart of these children. Imam Hussein goes to the grave of Imam Hassan, someone who left this world in a very tragic sense as well, who, when his janazah was being carried, there were arrows that were fired at the janazah of Imam Hassan. He was not allowed to be buried next to Rasulullah, that he had to be taken to Baqi and be buried over there. Ajrukum Allah. Now Imam is bidding farewell to this city. Imam tells Sharikatul Hussein, Zainab, "Oh Zainab, this city is no longer welcoming us. We cannot stay here anymore. Unfortunately, we have to leave. Gather whatever you can and we have to depart." Janab Zainab says yes. And she starts to gather gather the family. She is that someone who had always kept the family together. Even in Karbala, we see the same thing. Zainab, on the day of after Ashur, when Zainab was told and she didn't know what to expect, what will happen to us, they told that all the women have to mount onto these horses without any carriages, and they will be taken to Kufa. Zainab started helping the family members. All the women were being helped by Zainab. One by one, she helped all the ladies mount on top of these horses. She would have remembered that when we were leaving Medina, what was happening then? Hussein was sitting on the side. There were these Jawalan Banu Hashim. The Ravi says that I saw a lady was brought out. This young man was carrying her hand, and he brought her to the carriage. She sat down. I asked, who is this young boy? He said, this is Qasim, and that lady is his mother. And then we saw again two other men were bringing another lady, and then she enters into the carriage. The person asked, who is this? They said, this is Kulthum. And the two men over there, one is Ali Akbar and the other one is Qasim. And then all of a sudden there was another lady that was being brought. At this time she was being accompanied by Abbas. Hussein, who was seeing all this from far away, he stands up from his place. And as soon as Hussein stood up, the Ravi said, Abdullah said, that who is this lady for whom even Hussein is standing up? They said, this lady is Zainab bint Ali, Sharikatul Hussein. As soon as Janab Zainab entered the carriage, the qafla was ready, the caravan was ready. They started to move. But come the day after Ashura, now when Zainab is helping, there's no Qasim, there's no Ali Akbar, there's no Abbas, there's no Hussein. She must have looked towards Furat. Oh Bhaiya Abbas, Zainab needs your help. She must have looked towards Hussein, but she did not call upon them. She helped all the ladies, but when her turn came, how Zainab would have mounted. Ajrukum ala Allah. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Oh Allah, please accept our ibadah tonight. Oh Allah, we've committed a lot of sins. Please forgive our sins. Oh Allah, give us a tawfiq and ability to follow the commands and the teachings of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salatu wassalam. Oh Allah, give us the tawfiq to understand the mission of Sayyid al-Shuhada and to implement that into our lives. Oh Allah, help us understand the objectives of Imam's movement, so that we are prepared for the arrival of Imam of our time. O Allah, make us amongst the helpers and the soldiers of Imam Zamana. O Allah, hasten his reappearance. Matam Hussein. Hussein, Hussein, Hussein. Hussein, Hussein, Hussein. The earth trembled, the skies blackened. The earth trembled, the skies blackened. Hussein has been martyred, Hussein has been martyred. The earth trembled, the skies blackened. The earth trembled, the skies blackened.
Hussein has been martyred, Hussein has been martyred. I told Zuljanah, please don't take father. Whoever goes, they never return. My father then told me, to him I'm so dear. My father then told me, to him I'm so dear. The time has now come for us to part. The earth trembled, the skies blackened. The earth trembled, the skies blackened. After you were slain, they came into our tents. They slapped me on my face and snatched my earrings. Do they not know we are of Ahlul Bayt? Do they not know we are of Ahlul Bayt? Oh grandfather, where are you? The earth trembled. The skies blackened. The earth trembled. The skies blackened. Hussein has been martyred. Hussein has been martyred. Sakina cannot sleep. Her father has been slain. Oh father, where are you? I want to lay my head upon your chest. I want to lay my head upon your chest. When will I see you? When will I see you? The earth trembled. The skies blackened. The earth trembled. The skies blackened. Hussein has been martyred. Hussein has been martyred. When I fell down from the camel's back, Zainab cried out, no one took heed. But then, Father, your head fell off Kuli's spear. But then, Father, your head fell off Kuli's spear. When will I see you? When will I see you? The earth trembled, the skies blackened. The earth trembled, the skies blackened. Hussein has been martyred. Hussein has been martyred. The city of Sham came out to see. Who are these prisoners paraded through town? Can it really be the family of Rasul? Can it really be the family of Rasul? Without any veils, the daughters of Hussein. The earth trembled, the skies blackened. The earth trembled, the skies blackened. Hussein has been martyred. Hussein has been martyred. My brother Ali Asghar, he died without a drop. Now how can I drink whilst he is thirsty? I want to leave this evil dungeon of Yazid. I want to leave this evil dungeon of Yazid. When will I see you? When will I see you? The earth trembled, the skies blackened. The earth trembled, the skies blackened. Hussein has been martyred. Hussein has been martyred. O men of Yazid, please take away this tray. I am not hungry, I want my father. On the tray there lay my father's head. On the tray there lay my father's head. I want to be with you, the time has now come. The earth trembled, the skies blackened. The earth trembled, the skies blackened. Hussein has been martyred, Hussein has been martyred.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
السلام عليك يا رسول الله، السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين، السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء سيدة نساء العالمين، السلام عليك يا حسن المجتبى، السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا مولا وابن مولا، السلام عليك يا غريب الغرباء، سلطان أبا الحسن مولانا علي بن موسى الرضا، كن شفيعنا وشفيع والدينا في يوم الجزاء ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا مولانا يا صاحب العصر والزمان، سيدي الأمان 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 من فتنة الزمان. السلام عليك يا خليفة الرحمن وشريك القرآن وقابة الإيمان. السلام عليك يا إمامي وإمام الإنس والجان ورحمة الله وبركاته. اللهم صل على